Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and today I want to talk about A Deadly Education. Will this be the first book review on my booktube channel? Maybe, but first and foremost, vote. We are getting down to the wire, people, so make sure you vote. So first I want to say that I am not good at reviewing books. I have mentioned this previously. That I really respect people who can write really eloquent, beautifully worded reviews or even do them in videos. That is not me. So just fair warning, this is gonna be all over the place. And so you've been warned. I'm going to keep this spoiler free for the most part, and then at the end, maybe a little bit of spoilery, but I'll definitely mark it and put a timestamp in the description. So A Deadly Educations, written by Naomi Novik. This came out maybe 2 weeks ago, and it's been on a lot of people's most anticipated list for this year because it is a new book set in a magic school. And with everything that's happened with Joanne Rowling, everyone is excited to have a new book at a magic school that maybe they can replace Harry Potter with. But I at first thought it was young adult because magic school, and it sounded like, you know, like 18 and under. And then I saw that it was being sold as adult from the imprint, which is Del Rey Books, I believe, and the price point. It's $28. Well, it's $28. When I looked at bookshop.org, it's $25. So it definitely adult priced. And then when I saw it, like a physical copy, it's very short. It's like 350 pages max. But anyway, the only thing I knew about it going in was it was set at a magic school, apparently, that you either graduate or you die. And I was like, that sounds very interesting. I didn't look any further into it. Then it came out. There was some controversy, which I talked about in my previous or the last week's book community video, where people were highlighting some passages that they found racist. So I had already wanted to read it. I had it in from the library, and so I read it. I finished yesterday. So A Deadly Education. What did I think of it? What did Drake say? I'm upset. I am upset. One, the book is beautiful. Oh, and I was like, I really hope I love this book because it's like black and gold. The UK edition is like a navy blue. Oh my gosh, I wanted to buy both editions. And now I'm like, can I really justify that, especially at an adult price, when I didn't love this book? So the whole concept of this world is that there are wizards and there's mundanes, so people who don't have magic. And the wizards go to this school, the Scholomance, and I think it's from like 14 to 18, so you know, like 9th grade to senior year, to learn magic, learn spells in order to get out into the world. And then either they live on their own or they join an enclave, which is like a group of wizards living together. The thing about the school, though, is it's deadly. There are no teachers, no professors, no one really besides the students, and monsters. There's hella monsters everywhere, always trying to kill you, always trying to eat you, and so you always have to be on your guard. And that's it. Like, do you hear that description of the book? And then you think there's going to be some other plot, and there's not. That was a big issue with this book for me. There really is no plot to the last 20% of the book. It is very much an info dump. Like, it felt as if I watched like 2 other reviews for this book, and someone described it as an IKEA instruction manual for this book, or like her outline, but she just wrote it. And I agree with both of those things because it was so much info dumping. And I'm not even gonna say world building because I love world building, but just dumping information, just typing that up is different from world building in my opinion. And there's so much of it. And I only think this is going to be a duology. So I think she did herself a disservice because she's like, I'm going to tell you everything about the world in this first book, then a little bit of story, and then I'll have a second book. So it's already limited there. Page count, she limited herself, and it didn't feel like a story. It felt as if she was writing, you know, when series come out, and then sometimes they come out with like a companion book or like a book that talks about the world. For instance, with the Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire series, there's The World of Ice and Fire, this big book that just goes into history about the families and the fights and all this stuff, which if you love the series is perfect because you get all this extra information. That's what the majority of this felt like. Like, you want a deeper explanation of everything, because this just wasn't it. Our main character is Elle. Her full name is Galadriel, but she goes by Elle, and she's the worst. No one likes her, and it's not really explained why no one likes her, aside from her just being a bitch to everybody. But she says, like, where her and her mom live, no one likes her. And then she goes to school and no one likes her. And it's like, why? Her mom is this powerful wizard, but she chooses to live on her own in like this hippie commune and, like, you know, not be with an enclave. And then there's Elle. So in this story, all wizards have a different affinity. So one person might have affinity for weather magic, or they may have an affinity for transfiguration spells. Elle has an affinity for mass destruction, which sounds cool, but it's very limiting in this story. And then the other main character, is it Orion or Orion? I'm not sure. Has an affinity for like battle magic or battle spells. So he does really well against all the monsters in the school. Another thing, the monsters are called Mals, like Maleficaria, is that it? While this book was short, it also, I still feel confused. All the info dump, and sometimes I still feel confused. So those are the mainly two characters. They're in their junior year at the Scholomance. And like I said, no one likes Elle, but it's still really not well explained, besides that she's just a bitch because she assumes no one likes her. So then no one does like her because she's standoffish and she stays to herself. She's a loner. But then the first line of this book is, I decided that Orion needed to die after the second time he saved my life. Very interesting start, but whatever. So he, like I said, has affinity for battle magic. So he's always saving people from mouths that they weren't paying attention to, that came up behind them, always saving people. And then there's Elle. So she and her magic, she's always has to be careful, because since she has an affinity for mass destruction, she can easily turn a simple spell into something that, you know, wipes out half of the class. So all sounds very interesting, right? I did like the description of like the school. It's kind of like, I picture it as cylindrical, circular, because there's like the core where all of like the classrooms and stuff are, cafeteria, and then there's like the outside surrounding it are the dorms, and they rotate. So every year it rotates a bit down. So you're a freshman, you're going to start on like the top, and then it's going to rotate down, and the seniors are going to be on the bottom. Sounds cool. So, you know, staircases may change and things can pop out of wherever, because to get out of the school, once you're a senior, after the school year is over, you go out through this room, but the room is full of these monsters, these mouths, and you basically have to get through it. It's like a gauntlet. If you get through, you graduate. But I still don't really get why they created this school. And while it sounded cool in theory, the school just sounds awful. Like, the story lacked so much because the teachers were missing. Like, I love those teacher relationships, even when like the student hates them or they have this really great mentorship. That was missing. And so I didn't even feel a connection to like the magic or the spells either, because they're basically just teaching themselves. Also, everything about this book was like, oh, dark academia, it's deadly, this school is so scary. But she tells you so many times that it doesn't even feel like creepy or dark. It's just like, okay, we fucking get it. There's monsters. Like, it's a very tell, not show book. It was very much like, let me tell you how deadly the school is. Let me tell you, did I mention there's monsters? Did I tell you there's monsters? Did I mention you might die? Okay, Naomi, we fucking get it. There would be moments of like, okay, finally action is happening. Here's this big monster. They're in this bind. How are they going to get out of it? And then Elle, there was so much inner dialogue or like monologue, because she doesn't talk to that many people. And we'll pause, and she might be trying to fight this big monster, and then in her head she's gonna go and give you 3 pages of history on this monster, or what they do, or the benefit of living in an enclave. And you're like in the middle of a scene, and so it'd be like, well, I thought that was going to be interesting, and there wasn't a lot of dialogue because the main character doesn't talk to anyone, and so it just wasn't an enjoyable story. It was only 350 pages, but it felt like it took forever to get through, and I kept falling asleep while reading it, partly because I'm old and tired, but also partly because it was boring. Another issue I have is that I said it was marketed and sold as an adult book. This book is so YA. This is a young adult novel. The only adult thing about it is there's maybe the word fuck like 10 times, and that's it. I don't work in publishing. I don't know how they determine that, but I think it's bullshit because the writing, the story, the characters is all young adult, but yet it is published as adult, and so there's that adult price point. And I think that's fucking rude, and I'm mad about it. Like I said, they're junior, so 17, 18, and she's just so immature, and that's fine. She's a teenager. Like, what? She's just meh and then annoying. And Orion or Ryan, whatever he is very meh too. Everyone was pretty flat. There was no really good character development. Like, Elle changes a little bit through the story and how she interacts with people, but other than that, I'm like, how do you have a book that's neither plot driven nor character driven? It was just info driven, and that is the worst. Like, I didn't care about the characters or what happened to them or their story, because it was just like, let me just give you all the information about this world I created and pepper in little bits of a story. Another thing was, and this bothers me in any book, the chapters were way too long. So I was reading on Kindle and I had it on like minutes. And so sometimes it would say 45 minutes till the end of the chapter. I'm like, that's ridiculous. It would just drag on and on. I hate long chapters. Though some of the writing was really weird. I've said before, I haven't read any of Naomi Novik's work before, so I don't know if this is her typical writing, but some of the sentences would just feel so disjointed. And I don't know if that's because we were in Elle's mind. It was in first person the entire time, but sometimes I would read it again, but like, just how it was structured felt really weird. And I think the first person point of view was very limiting because we only got through Elle's eyes. And again, she's a loner. She's just negative Nancy. So we only see through her interactions. And I felt like a third person POV with third person omniscient would have been way better, because you would have had a better view of the world. And it would have felt more like world building and slowly learning about it versus Elle coming across something and then explaining it to you for 3 pages. Also, I usually say books are too long, and this one was dull, but I feel like if you're going to write an adult fantasy, then you need more than 350 pages if you're going to be this, if you want a world that's so in-depth. So it's just so weird to do an adult fantasy duology and spend 75% of the first book really just info dumping and a little bit of story. Something else, it does end up being this kind of romance, if you want to call it that, but it's like the dullest romance ever. I watched someone's video and they were calling it like enemies to lovers, and I'm like, what? There's nothing. There's no emotion. There's no chemistry. Everything about this book was very surface level, no depth to me. In the book also, I'm kind of confused with the magic system, because it seemed like there were rules and then it seemed like kind of when you needed something, you could do it. So the controversy of the book was that the main character is half Welsh, half Indian, and there is a part in the book where she talks about like she smells because she hasn't taken a shower. So, and that there's a lack of connection to her Indian side of the family. So her mom and dad went to the Scholomance, and like I said, when you're a senior, you have to get out through this room that's basically like a gauntlet of monsters. And essentially he sacrificed himself to save her because she was pregnant with Elle. And that's all you really talk about or know about him. Her mom did go to his side of the family when she was 5. Her grandmother or great-grandmother saw her, got like this prophecy or premonition or something that she was going to bring destruction upon the world, and they didn't want anything to do with her. So people have found issue with that, like why make her Indian? And after reading it, I mean, like I agree. The adding the Indian part in just seems like a diversity check, because she could be just white and it would have been fine. And so about the dirty part though. Okay, there's a part where they're talking about swapping spells or something, and she says that someone threw a bit of glamour and a deodorant spell. She said, which I suppose was a polite way of hinting that I could stand to wash more often than I do. I didn't need the hint, I already knew, but if it's a choice between stinking and survival, I'll choose to stink. I've never had a shower more than once a week in here, and often it's been longer. And then it's like, if you're thinking that's why I don't have friends, it's a bit chicken and egg. Anyone who doesn't have enough friends to watch their back can't afford to be well groomed. And that lets people know you don't have enough friends to watch your back, which makes them less likely to think you're a valuable ally. However, none of us spends loads of time showering, and when you want to shower, generally you ask someone who visibly needs one themselves, and it all ends up leveling out. But no one ever asks me. So essentially, no one showers regularly unless they have a group of friends to go to the showers with, because again, the monsters, you could die taking a shower. So she, being a loner, doesn't shower as often because she doesn't always have someone to go to the shower with her. So I don't feel like that was a dig at Indian people, but I'm not Indian, so if you took offense to that, you know, I understand. I can't tell you what to take offense to, but I didn't see it as that big a deal. And then there was the issue about the dreadlocks. So they were talking about hair because one character, her hair was really long, which is unusual. And so the quote is, going fully shaved like that is popular if you can afford it. Dreadlocks are unfortunately not a great idea thanks to lock leeches, which you can probably imagine. But in case you need help, the adult spiny thing comes quietly down at night and provokes an ovipositor into big clumps of hair, lays an egg inside and creeps away. And it's gross. It goes into that. So it says the very longest anyone usually lets their hair get is shoulder length. Mine only gets a couple inches longer than that because no one goes out of their way to let me know they've got hold of good scissors. So basically they have these lock leeches that lock onto any kind of hair. And so most people keep their hair at least shoulder length. Some people shave their hair to avoid those. So I feel like it was a bad decision to say dreadlocks instead of just saying locks, because I thought that when they were showing this passage that the main character had dreadlocks and she doesn't, it's just like she just chose that word. So I can see where people think that's like a microaggression, like you're kind of on the slide being like dreadlocks are dirty, because that's the only time it's mentioned. So it's like, why did you choose to use that word when you could have just said hair or just said locks? Like anyone who has long locks of hair is prone to lock leeches. So I can understand that as well. So another part I saw pointed out by another reviewer was, so they study multiple languages in the Scholomance, and one that she ended up studying was Arabic. But she said, predictably, an Arabic worksheet appeared on my desk the instant I sat down that morning. There wasn't a single word of English on it. The school didn't even give me a dictionary, and judging by the cheery, cartoonish illustrations next to the lines, most notably a man in a car about to mow down a couple of hapless pedestrians, I had the strong suspicion that it was modern Arabic too. I'm going to read that again. So, predictably, an Arabic worksheet appeared on my desk. There wasn't a single word of English on it. And judging by the cheery, cartoonish illustrations next to the lines, most notably a man in a car about to mow down a couple of hapless pedestrians, I had the strong suspicion that it was modern Arabic. Now, I'm surprised I didn't see that in the first round of this book is problematic, because I find that worse than anything else. Because what does a cartoon of a man about to drive into pedestrians say instantly that that's Arabic? Are you saying that you saw that was terrorist and you're like, oh yeah, this is Arabic? That to me is the most problematic thing I came across. Big yikes, Naomi. So overall, I'm really disappointed in this book. I gave it 2 stars. And I'm just upset because I wanted to love it. I love school settings. So I wanted another book at a school setting to love. I was excited that it seemed like it was going to be adult at a school setting. And I'm so sad that it's not. So I want to reiterate that this book is very young adult, besides the use of the word fuck like 10 times. It is short though, if you want to read it. And as for problematic, I mean, there are some parts in there that are questionable, and then one that to me definitely is a problematic piece that she must have added in after her sensitivity readers. And this is what pisses me off the most. She pulled that shit that Lee Bardugo did in Ninth House, where your whole story is fucking dull, you cram in some action at the end, and then the last line of the book is something where you're like, well, motherfucker, what's gonna happen there. And she did that with the last line, just like Lee did in Ninth House, and I hate that shit. Do not write an entire book and then depend on the last 50 pages and the last line to coax readers into reading the next one. Bullshit. Terrible. I hate it. And honestly, there's not a lot to spoil because nothing happens. But I'm going to say a spoilery thing for 1 moment, so let me put that up there. So essentially this book, like I said, nothing happens for like 70% because it's just them going to classes, trying to survive these monsters. The Orion dude just keeps killing them, and Elle's like, why are you being my friend? And it turns out that his mom is well known, and so everybody thinks, like, worships him, and she doesn't, so that's why he's like, you treat me normal. And then there's some kind of thing, he kisses her, and she's like, I'm not dating him. He's been dating me. It's really stupid. So the last 20% when Naomi decided, oh, I need a plot, was that, so like the seniors have to run through the gauntlet thing, but there was like a hole coming in through the wall where the monsters were starting to get into the school more regularly. And so Elle and her little group decided to patch it up, but the seniors are mad because they're like, so there's going to be extra monsters down there for us, so the majority of us aren't going to make it out. So the seniors and these juniors team up and they go down there to distract them out while somebody is fixing like the scorching thing that's in the basement because it was broken like when the school first opened, that normally would like kill a lot of the monsters. And so some of them are standing there fighting off the Mal, and then some are fixing the thing, and then they fix it, woo, and so then there's less monsters for the seniors, and that's it. That's the book. And then the last line, she gets a letter from her mom, and the letter from her mom says, my darling girl, I love you. Have courage, my mother wrote, and keep far away from Orion Lake. That was the last line. Her boyfriend now. Her mom says to keep away from him. Naomi, what the fuck is this? Those are my feelings on that book. Please let me know down below if you have read it and what your thoughts are. Are you going to read it? Did the accusations, the racism, the drama put you off from reading it? I would love to know. Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Please subscribe. Please check out my description. Got links to my social media, to voting, to links to issues that are going on around the world. Curtis and I thank you for watching, and we hope that you take care of yourself, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye. Oh, they're getting a new thing. Ooh, Curtis. Hey, boo-boo. Ooh, you looking good, child. He just keeps leaning.